Here are 5 tips for you to be able to pack a great travel wardrobe without having to overwork it, without getting into the whole perfection mode. And quite frankly, don't listen to the gurus. You do you, boo. Okay, it's my mantra. So let's jump into these 5 tips though that can kind of give you a foundation and grounding for pulling things out of your closet, knowing that when you do step off that plane or boat or train to that destination, that you not only are dressing the way you like to dress, the way you like to look and feel, but it's going to work for your destination and the type of travel that you're undertaking. So let's jump right in, because the first thing is, number one, there is no such thing as the perfect travel wardrobe. I have traveled for most of my life now, since I was 18 years old. I was a road warrior for work, traveled for 20 years for work every week, where I had to pack the same colored clothes for 4 or 5 days and a little bitty roller bag. And even then, I couldn't account for everything, even though I was going in and out of an office into a hotel every night. So you've got to pack for what works for you. And let go of the idea that, you've got everything you need for every event, because things happen and come up. Weather, which we'll talk about in another moment, as a key tip around the whole weather and climate and seasonal thing. But weather inevitably is going to throw you off your game at some point. You might be planning on a lot of walking tours, etc., but then you get to a location and maybe you meet someone or a group of people and you end up going out for an impromptu dinner to an amazing restaurant, and so those things will happen. And so the first thing is just pack a versatile wardrobe that, if you were back home and you had to wear the same clothes for a week, they pretty much cover every situation that you would normally expect, not the unexpected. And at the end of the day, don't worry about repeating clothes or combining clothes, because at the end of the day, you're going to be the only one that's going to notice, because everyone else is a stranger around you, or at least 90% or 99%. Okay, tip number 2 is your unique look. I've traveled for business and leisure for many decades now, and I find that people put too much energy and effort and, quite frankly, angst and stress into trying to find the perfect look for a trip in Greece, or the perfect look for, a ski trip in Aspen. At the end of the day, your style is your style that you wear at home and carry with you when you travel. So if you love to dress boho, bohemian, if you like wild, bold colors and prints, or if you're like me, who tends to be a pretty preppy dresser, that is uniquely you. And so stick to that as a foundation. And then you can add in and layer in, okay, I am going to this particular destination. What do I need to think about? And will my unique style fit in, be, sympathetic, or do I need to do a couple of tweaks? And the only real areas you need to think about this, ladies, is if you're going to particularly conservative cultures and countries. That's where you want to think about, I'm going to pack that extra scarf because, maybe you just love always showing your shoulders off and you're going to that place. So that's the only places you have to kind of think about it. But otherwise, you do you. The third piece of your unique look as destination is the type of travel. If you're going to a really hot location, you do want to think about, your unique style and what you love to wear. But are you going to a beach, or are you going to, a location like Bangkok or Hong Kong or Singapore, like going actually to a city in a really hot, humid climate? because that will require you to dress a little bit differently. Like, you're not going to walk down the street with the little sunset, sundress, apologies, with the spaghetti straps on. They are more conservative cultures, and especially in bigger cities, but you still want to be cool and comfortable. So again, I'm a preppy dresser, but also I'm very conscious of the fabrics and fibers I wear, and then I marry up. And if you're looking for a really hot tip, how do you know how they dress in Bangkok or Hong Kong or Singapore? Well, just go out online. Look at the local newspaper, look at some images, some YouTube videos of that location, and just look at what people are walking down the street in. And that will give you a really good sense of the conservatism or more informal culture that you have. Like, I'm originally from New Zealand, and it's a very casual culture there. So even in the cities, you're going to be just fine. Okay, so that's your unique style. And the last thing there is also just have really versatile pieces that you can mix and match together. Again, like I said in the first tip, nobody's going to see or notice you. They're all strangers. So versatility is key. All right, number 3. It sounds obvious, but don't be an obvious traveler or tourist. And if you think about it, like our generation, ladies, can I say that? When we think of our moms and dads when they were traveling, like they had, a big bag under their arm, they had the really big sneakers, the big fanny pack, in front, and, the polyester pants. Well, okay, thank God those days are gone. But again, you don't want to stand out, and that's more from a safety perspective that I'm bringing this up. Now, what seems ironic, here we are today, and sneakers are really in. And in fact, even fanny packs and, kind of have taken a new modern twist. So again, it's just look at what others are wearing locally, not what the tourists are wearing. And then right size that, if you will, to what you need to carry and what kind of activities you're going to be doing. And, I am a big fan of sneakers. And if you check out one of my other YouTube videos, I actually specifically talk about footwear and how many pairs of shoes to travel or not. Because again, you do you, boo. But my favorites are Allbird sneakers. And I've got a link below if you want to go check them out. And the reason why I use them, just as a quick FYI, is because they are extremely comfortable. They are very sustainable. Like, there's a lot of really good recycled material in them, and they're natural. They're actually got wool in them, which, believe it or not, is great in both cool and warm weather. And I love them for wearing on planes because my feet freeze at the best of times. So I use them for that. But anyway, that's just an aside. So don't be an obvious tourist in the way you look. In fact, actually, go out and look and look at images and say, oh, can you spot the tourist? And look at what is it that you spot about them that's standing out. Just avoid those things. Simple as that. Okay, tip number 4, weather. I don't know where you live today, but I will pretty much put money on it that weather is a common conversation even where you live. I live in Canada now at the foot of the Rocky Mountains, and the weather is very changeable. So when I'm talking about weather, there's 2-3 things I want you to think about. 1, what season are you traveling into? Like, are you going from southern hemisphere to northern hemisphere or vice versa, and going from winter to summer or summer to winter? So just overall, what's the season? Then you want to look at the particular location. Like I said, here at the foot of the Canadian Rockies, I could change my clothes 3 times in a day because I would go from brilliant sunshine and wanting to wear a t-shirt, suddenly the wind whips up over the mountains and I'm wanting to put a vest on. Okay, so beware of, so the good old-fashioned layers when you're looking at climate and season, and that applies for going in the summer to a place. Because sometimes, like, I want to carry a scarf, really light cotton scarf, because the sun is beating down and I want to be cool in a nice summer dress, but suddenly I'm finding I'm burning up and I want to protect my skin, okay? Along with that, you also want to think about the change in temperature from day to night. Again, I'll use the Canadian Rocky Mountain example. You know, in our summers, they are beautiful, hot, dry. People don't think of that, but they are. But the temperature will still drop dramatically in the evening if you're up in the mountains. So you really want to think about that for your location. Or if you're going to the UK, I always think, you know what, the temperatures are pretty good. But, you know, suddenly gets a little chilly and it feels that really damp cold. So I want to layer up for that. So think about season, the natural temperatures of the location, think about day to night, and think about changes that can happen during the day. And again, it doesn't mean you have to pack for every eventuality. It just means you need those 2 or 3 pieces that you can layer or pull out and throw in your bag for the day for the particular event or activity you're going on. Okay, tip number 5, last but certainly not least, is luggage. Now, we can do a whole book just on luggage, but here's a couple of things that just to use as your kind of guide in terms of those, you know, bars on the edge of the road or boundaries to stay within. Number 1 is, are you a carry-on person or are you a checked luggage person? I have over 2 million frequent flyer miles under my belt. And I travel with a little roller bag for 20 years every week to go to work as a consultant across the country and into other countries. So when I would go on vacation, I would haul a bag with everything in it and I would check it. To this day, for leisure travel, I actually still check my luggage, especially when I'm going on international and it's absolutely long haul travel. And that's because, you know what, there's physical aspects to throwing bags up into the overhead, all those kinds of things. Again, another topic, but do what works for you. So because I like checked luggage, I'm going to actually pack checked luggage. And if you're a carry-on person, you've really got to take those 4 tips and skinny everything down to a really handful of pieces. Number 2 around luggage is think about, the modes of travel. Are you flying somewhere? But once you get there, are you going to be taking a train? I'm going to be doing that later this summer and going to the UK. And so I'm being really cognizant of, I'm checking my bag for flying, but I'm thinking about the size of bag so I can get easily on and off the train with my bag because I'm going to be traveling on my own. The other thing is thinking about for flying, are you traveling business or economy? That makes a difference. When I do long haul international, I fly business class, lying down in the pods, and typically on most airlines, I get to check 2 bags. But if you're economy, you're limited to 1 bag. Also think about the airline, or if you've got a combination of airlines, because that will change sometimes the maximum size of your checked bag, and also more importantly, the weight of it. Okay, so you're factoring that in as you're laying out all those amazing clothes on your bed. And the last thing to think about is if you're bunny hopping, as I call it. So you might be doing I did a long haul flight to the French Polynesia, and then I was doing a little, bunny hop plane over to Bora Bora. Well, sure, I could take my 2 big bags flying down to French Polynesia into Papeete, but on that little plane going across to Bora Bora, I knew I had to have a much smaller bag. So those are the hot tips. Now, if you've enjoyed this, you've seen there's a little subscribe in the corner there, and you would like more resources like this, click on subscribe. Love to have you as part of the community. The other thing you'll see below, I've also put a link to my ultimate guide of guidelines around packing. And if you're interested in that, it's complimentary. Click on the link and it'll take you over and you can download the guide. But again, I hope you've enjoyed and found this valuable for you ladies, traveling solo or traveling with a friend or friends.